As women age, they often experience a shift in their relationships, particularly with their husbands. What once was a fulfilling, loving partnership can evolve into frustration, silent resentment, and emotional distance. If you've ever found yourself wondering why this happens or why your marriage seems to lose its spark over time, you're not alone. Many women in long-term marriages experience this gradual decline in emotional connection, and it's not always clear why. In today's video, we will explore the 7 reasons why women start resenting their husbands as they age, and more importantly, how to fix these issues before it's too late. These reasons aren't just about small complaints or temporary frustrations. They are deep-rooted emotional and psychological factors that slowly build over time. By understanding these signs, you can address the issues, reconnect with your partner, and reignite the love and respect that may have faded. Stay tuned till the end, as the solutions we discuss could change the way you view your marriage and relationships forever. Let's dive in and explore the causes and potential solutions for this common issue many couples face as they grow older together. 1. Years of emotional labor without appreciation. One of the most significant reasons women begin to resent their husbands as they age is the emotional labor they carry for years without recognition or appreciation. Emotional labor refers to the unseen mental and emotional work that women often perform in relationships, like managing the household, coordinating family schedules, smoothing over conflicts, and making sure everyone else's needs are met. It's the quiet effort that ensures a family runs smoothly, yet it's often unnoticed or taken for granted. Women may be the ones to remember birthdays, plan family vacations, make sure everyone attends their doctor's appointments, and maintain social obligations. Over time, this responsibility can feel exhausting, especially when their efforts go unacknowledged. Many husbands mistakenly assume that their financial contribution is enough. But a marriage isn't just about providing financially. It's about emotional support, shared responsibility, and making each other feel valued. When a woman spends years tending to every detail while her husband remains unaware or indifferent, resentment can quietly build. This invisible emotional burden often causes women to feel like caretakers rather than equal partners. Consider Carol, a 72-year-old retired teacher who spent years balancing work, raising 3 children, and ensuring her husband's life ran smoothly. She handled all the holiday planning, remembered every birthday, and made sure everything was in order, but no one ever asked if she needed help. Decades later, she felt more like a caretaker than a loved one, and the lack of appreciation caused her emotional exhaustion. Women who feel unseen or unappreciated eventually reach a breaking point, which leads to emotional withdrawal and resentment. 2. Feeling like a roommate instead of a wife. As the years go by, many women start to feel like they are living with a roommate instead of a husband. This shift is particularly painful because it represents the loss of emotional intimacy and connection that once existed in the marriage. Early in a relationship, there's excitement, passion, and deep emotional bonding. But over time, if both partners stop putting effort into nurturing their relationship, the romance fades. What remains is a partnership based on routine, where both individuals coexist but have emotionally drifted apart. Linda, a 69-year-old retired nurse, found herself in this situation. In the beginning, she and her husband shared laughs, took walks together, and talked about their dreams. Over time, though, the conversations became shorter, and he spent more time watching TV or sitting in silence. Linda realized that the emotional connection was gone and that she no longer felt desired or truly seen. This transformation from passionate partners to mere cohabitants is a common issue in many marriages, especially when one partner assumes that the marriage requires no further effort after the initial commitment. Women need emotional intimacy, and without it, they begin to feel isolated, lonely, and disconnected. If a husband stops making an effort to connect emotionally, compliment his wife, or engage in meaningful conversations, the wife begins to feel like a housemate rather than a loved one. As the emotional distance widens, frustration and resentment start to build. 3. Unresolved conflicts that have built up over the years. Another major source of resentment is the accumulation of unresolved conflicts. Over the years, small disagreements, disappointments, and emotional wounds that were never truly addressed can build up, creating layers of frustration and bitterness. Many couples fall into the habit of ignoring issues instead of addressing them head-on. At first, it might be a minor disagreement or an unspoken disappointment, but over time, these unresolved conflicts add up. Patricia, a 74-year-old retired accountant, had been married for over 40 years. On the outside, her marriage seemed stable, but internally, she carried years of resentment. Small issues like dismissive comments, forgotten anniversaries, and broken promises accumulated, leaving her feeling unheard and unimportant. When her concerns were brushed off with responses like, "You're overreacting," Patricia stopped trying to resolve the conflicts, and the emotional distance between her and her husband grew. The lack of resolution turns these small issues into deep-seated resentment. Women often feel like they are fighting alone, and when their concerns are continuously ignored, they emotionally withdraw. If you recognize this pattern in your relationship, it's important to have open, honest conversations and address these issues before they turn into insurmountable obstacles. 4. A shift in priorities that leaves her feeling unfulfilled. As women age, their priorities and desires change. What once felt fulfilling, raising children, managing a home, or supporting their spouse's career, may begin to feel like a chapter that has ended. Many women reach a point where they seek personal growth, new experiences, and independence. If their husbands remain stuck in old routines, unaware of these changes, it can create a painful divide. Helen, a 68-year-old retired librarian, spent years supporting her family, but now, in retirement, she craved new experiences, travel, social groups, and hobbies she had never had time for. Her husband, however, was content watching TV every night and dismissing her suggestions. Over time, Helen started to feel trapped in a life that no longer fulfilled her, and resentment began to build. When women feel like their husbands haven't grown alongside them, they begin to see their partners as obstacles rather than allies. This shift is often unnoticed by the husband, who believes that things should remain the same. However, when a woman's desires evolve and her husband doesn't make an effort to adapt, it creates emotional disconnection. Aging should be a time of growth and new possibilities, not just routine and repetition. When a woman feels unfulfilled, resentment can take root. 5. A lack of emotional and physical affection. One of the most painful reasons for growing resentment is the gradual loss of both emotional and physical affection. At the beginning of a relationship, small gestures like hugs, kisses, and compliments keep the connection alive. But as the years pass, many husbands stop showing affection, assuming that their wives know they are loved without needing constant reminders. Sharon, a 71-year-old retired secretary, remembered when her husband used to show affection with small touches, like holding her hand during walks or placing a hand on her back as they talked. Over time, these gestures disappeared, and conversations became focused on practical matters like bills and errands. When Sharon expressed how much she missed the affection, her husband brushed it off, saying, "We're too old for that now." That moment was when Sharon realized that the emotional connection was no longer there. A lack of affection makes a woman feel unwanted and invisible. It's not just about romance, it's about emotional security. When a wife stops receiving affection, she feels emotionally neglected, which leads to resentment. Physical intimacy may naturally decrease with age, but emotional intimacy and affection should never fade. Without these, the connection between husband and wife weakens. 6. Feeling taken for granted. Many women begin to resent their husbands because they feel taken for granted. Over the years, women often give and sacrifice without receiving acknowledgement. When their efforts become expected rather than appreciated, the love in the relationship fades. A simple thank you or a compliment can make all the difference, but many husbands stop expressing gratitude, assuming their wives will always take care of things. Nancy, a 72-year-old retired school principal, spent years taking care of her household without complaint. But over time, she noticed her husband stopped acknowledging her efforts. When she asked if he even noticed how much she did for him, his response was a shrug, and that's when she realized he had stopped appreciating her entirely. Feeling invisible in a marriage can be devastating. Women who once felt valued begin to feel like their efforts are just part of their role, leading to emotional withdrawal. Appreciation is essential in a relationship, and when it's absent, resentment fills the gap. 7. Realizing that they've grown apart. Perhaps the most heartbreaking reason for resentment is the realization that the couple has grown apart. Over time, life's responsibilities, stress, and routine can cause emotional disconnection. One day, a woman might look at her husband and think, "Who is this person? And how did we get here?" The shared dreams and deep conversations they once had have been replaced by shallow exchanges and emotional distance. Margaret, a 74-year-old retired social worker, realized that her husband no longer listened to her or cared about her personal growth. Their once deep conversations had turned into brief, disinterested exchanges. When she tried to talk about her interests or new goals, he ignored her. That's when she realized they had grown emotionally distant. This realization can be painful because it means that the person they once felt closest to has become a stranger. It's not just about the lack of romance, it's about the loss of connection, shared experiences, and mutual support. Without effort from both partners, emotional disconnection becomes permanent, leading to deep-seated resentment. Conclusion: as women age, the dynamics in their marriages often shift. The reasons behind these shifts are not always obvious, but can be deeply emotional and psychological. From years of emotional labor without appreciation to feeling like roommates instead of partners, these issues build up over time. It's important to recognize that resentment doesn't happen overnight. It's the result of years of unmet needs, lack of affection, unresolved conflicts, and emotional disconnection. The good news is that it's never too late to address these issues. By acknowledging the patterns in your marriage, communicating openly with your partner, and putting in the effort to reconnect, you can rebuild the emotional intimacy and appreciation that may have been lost. If you recognize yourself in any of these signs, know that you are not alone. Many women experience these frustrations, but with awareness and effort, relationships can be healed and renewed. If this video resonated with you, leave a comment below and share your thoughts. Your experiences may help others navigate similar challenges in their own relationships. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to hearing from you.